Do you love made-for-TV movies? We sure do. We always have. In 30 years of friendship, we've laughed, cried, diagnosed, and obsessed over every made-for-TV movie we could get our eyes on.
Did you know that most made-for-TV movies are about amazing people who have risked their lives to change the world?
We'll be taking you through the last 60 years of some of the most powerful stories. We'll see what's changed and what's exactly the same.
We also love a nice synthesizer and a sweet satin blouse. And we think you will too.
I'm Steph.
I'm Liz.
And this is
No One Would Tell, Except Us podcast.
Welcome to the No One Would Tell, Except Us podcast. I'm Steph.
I'm Liz.
And today, I think it's safe to say we're both a little nervous. We don't have any special guests or anything, but we are covering a pretty epic movie. And I say movie because it is a made-for-TV movie, but it's kind of a movie in its own right. I mean, it really carries itself very well. So we are going to be discussing Drew Peterson, Untouchable from 2012. And we were saying, you know, where do we even begin? Because this is so epic and amazing. So I think we should just begin probably with what everybody was thinking when this movie was announced or when the trailer came out, which was like, Rob Lowe, like WTF, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, star-studded. I mean, there's some pretty amazing actors and actresses that do made-for-TV movies, but this one, your jaw hits the floor. Especially because I feel like in the 2000 eras, you're not getting the main stars doing these anymore.
No.
Like, nobody owes anyone a favor.
No.
You just do projects you want to do. And to see him do this, plus to play Drew Peterson, I mean, he's so good looking. Not Drew Peterson.
Right.
Rob Lowe.
Right.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah. Talk about casting all the way up. Basically, yeah, if you find yourself in this kind of predicament like Drew Peterson has, I think Rob Lowe playing you is a gift. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't even imagine what Rob was going to do with this character. And I also thought what was hilarious is that originally Drew Peterson wanted Denzel Washington to play him.
Shut up.
He wanted.
Are you serious?
He did. And so I don't even think he was grateful. I mean, I'm not going to quote him, but I don't even think he was grateful or understood the gift he was given in having Rob Lowe play him.
Yeah, like he should have expected a strung out Eric Roberts, and that would have been still a gift.
Yeah, that would have been a gift too. But no, he got like the top of the brat pack, and I guess that wasn't good enough. So
Denzel Washington, yeah, training day Denzel Washington.
It would have changed a lot of things about this story.
Changed a lot of things.
So Rob Lowe apparently is this huge like news junkie and saw Drew Peterson walk off of a live interview and was like, oh, I'm in, because he had so many hours of footage to observe to, you know, get that character into his brain.
Drew is like truly just a character. I mean, when you watch him in those news things, like some of the stuff that happened, my husband was like, remember that? And I thought, oh, I thought they wrote that in.
Right.
They didn't.
It's like, no, it really was that jacked up. Yeah. So let's get into it, because this movie, again, really packs a punch. And it took a long time for me to watch it and review it again, because there's just so much goodness.
There is.
So basically, we should start by saying that we are both from the Chicagoland area, and this traumatic story and movie is set in the area. And we'll get into, Liz, how you have some, you know, firsthand
Oh gosh,
account and knowledge of what went down. But yeah, you know, it's like we start off, Rob Lowe, again, nailed this accent, nailed the voice. I mean, he sounds like one of my dad's friends. He really, really went for it. And I think we should just get into that first scene because, whoa.
Yeah, that I had to pause because when this movie came out, I remember like we got like appetizers from Trader Joe's and like had everything. I watched it with my parents.
You made a night of it.
We did. And that first scene, I can't even imagine how much I must have cringed because I cringed in my bedroom alone.
Yeah.
It was like he is with his second wife?
His third wife.
His third wife. That's right. Oh my God.
Yes, I know.
How do you get three wives?
He's a romantic. He's a romantic.
He's with his third wife and they're, you know, having sex and their child, like, I don't know, walks in on them, which is like horror story for any parent and traumatizing for the kid.
Very.
But Rob Lowe is just like, or Drew Peterson rather, is just like, ugh, too much loving from Big Daddy.
That's right. That's right. And the wife is horrified. But again, I mean, how is she not horrified from like the first moment meeting him? I mean, like, it's not like he is a wallflower. So she's like, oh my gosh, like our, you know, kid caught us banging, you know, but it's like, I don't think that's the first time that happened. I mean, I would only assume it's an occurrence that goes down in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, Drew, like, seems like he's just loving it. Like, he's just like, look at Daddy's package.
Yes.
I mean, why didn't, also, I was thinking to myself, why didn't that kid bounce? Like, I'd be like, bye.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'll get my own cereal. Thank you. And it's like Drew, you know, he gets out of bed. He's like totally naked. Like, obviously he wants the kid to see he's like endowed or whatever. And it's terrifying.
Still be like hard. Like,
I mean, probably.
Gosh,
and
trauma.
then he tells Kathleen, his wife, like, oh, you know, we'll see if I come back and like help you out. Which is really,
so nasty.
Really disturbing because obviously Rob Lowe is saying it. And this is a point you and I were talking about before, too. Like, for all of these things to be so disgusting coming from Rob Lowe, I can't imagine them coming from Drew Peterson, the person. Like, that is so disturbing to me to picture. So basically, we learn very quickly he's a corrupt cop. What else is new? You know what I mean? Like, he's doing the beat. He's taking money. He's letting people, you know, do favors instead of serve time. And it's just kind of understood. It's like the culture. I think in many ways it's probably still the culture in, you know, several parts of Chicago for sure.
Yeah.
And so pretty quickly on in the movie, he meets Stacy. And you had said you read that she was 16 when they met.
Yeah. I read in a news article that she was only 16 when they met. Like, she had graduated high school early and got a job. And, yeah, they met when she was 16. I don't know if they started dating when she was 16, but, like, probably. I mean, I don't think they were carrying on a friendship. Like,
just a courtship. I don't think so either. I mean,
he's courting her.
At least in the movie. And I'm sorry, how do you say her name? Is it Kaylee Cuoco?
I don't know. I can't ever say it.
Okay.
The girl from The Big Bang Theory.
Perfect casting. Perfect casting. And honestly, I'm not a Big Bang Theory person.
Me neither.
So I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but walking away from this film, I'm like, yeah, she's got chops. Like, she was legit.
She was good.
She was really good.
Yeah, she was really good.
And she actually looked like Stacey. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't like they casted way up for Stacey like they did for Drew. So,
yeah, I mean, Stacey was a very attractive girl.
Yeah.
And again, why'd you pick Drew? At this point, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but it's just like, why would you pick him?
Yeah.
He's
Well,
gross.
we learned that, she had like a troubled home life, right? Her mom
Right.
left.
That's
And it looked like she was working in some kind of like La Quinta Inn when she first meets
you
Drew.
might be right on the ball with that one.
Well, I guess in a lot of these movies, I mean, if you're working at like a motel, you're susceptible to a lot of different kinds of predatory men. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a theme. So she's immediately turned on by him because he's basically arresting this like TLC looking character.
And I wrote in my notes, I'm like, could you imagine being the crazy guy that was being arrested by Drew Peterson and later being like, you murdered your wives and you're arresting me?
Yeah, he's like, all I was doing was like running around the hotel, like yelling and banging on doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably like, what? I mean, I'm sure anyone that was ever arrested by him is like, what? Like, he had no right to judge what I did. So basically her friend is like, he's gross, Stacey, because in real life he was, right?
He's very unattractive.
So then, we kind of see how his marriage with Kathleen is day to day. And she's mouthy, like she's had it. She's mouthy, but you know what? I'm mouthy, but I'm not married to a corrupt cop. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to, he says
things that are so off the wall and offensive. And if my husband exposed himself to my child, that would be grounds to leave, like right there and then. That's like abuse.
Yeah, it's definitely, again, like, I don't even know how she spent one day with him, let alone all of these years. And, he's joking around, like saying she has her period. It's just like, come on.
Misogynistic.
So then we see their, basically like company cop party, and, it's borderline. What was that? Oh, at the precinct.
At the precinct. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's borderline heavy metal too.
Yeah, and I know for a fact in Bolingbrook, there are many TGI Fridays that could have hosted that event. I'll tell you that.
Well, and I wonder how many things and activities they get into at those parties that can't be at a TGI Fridays. And that's why that's
very true.
But it's pretty clear. It's like a wild, fun-loving bunch. Like, the only thing missing is like a hot tub in the middle of the desks. Like, these people, I mean, again, they're swingers, right? Like, there's definitely something going on.
It's a weird bunch.
Yeah. So he's rocking his like, Miami mobster style shirt, and his wife is drinking really cheap wine that's like neon red.
Again, that seems actually truthful. Like, that's what I would expect there.
It doesn't look fun to me. But basically, they're like goofing around, and he is like, oh, check out these new cells. And she sits in the jail cell. And while she's sitting in the jail cell, she's like, you're a cheater. And then he locks her in the cell.
Well, he's like, let's try on this, these threads, like a mattress. Come on. And I mean, like, have sex in the jail in front of your coworkers. Like, and I think he meant it. Like, I don't think it was a joke.
He would have got down for sure.
Oh.
But again, I mean, she kind of knows he's disgusting and volatile. So it's like, she's like, you're a cheater. And it's like, he locks her in there. And it's like, again, I'm not like victim blaming, but I don't know what she is like thinking ever, because I'm like, he's very powerful.
Yeah.
And kind of dangerous. And you're staying with him and you're mouthing off. Like, I don't know what is good about that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You would hope that you just be like, enough is enough. I'm going to leave. But she does get to that point,
yes.
and that's when she gets killed. So.
Right. So basically he locks her in there and his colleague's like, what? But he's like, well, that's Drew, like he just does this to women. So then he sweeps Stacy off her feet on his motorcycle. He pulls up on his motorcycle.
I was like, oh my gosh, I think that might have been at the Promenade Bolingbrook, which is the outdoor mall. It's probably the swankiest, part of Bolingbrook is the Promenade.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, I have not been.
Steph, it's got a Barnes and Noble, a Bar Louie. Come on.
I mean, sign me up.
Yeah, that's where you go to that's impressive.
Well, it's definitely exciting to Stacy. They're like wild and crazy in the southwest suburbs. They're like riding his bike all over. He says Lake Michigan, which he wouldn't say. He would say the lake, but that's fine.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I never thought about that. But if you are from the area, you're not like, I'm going to Lake Michigan.
No, you're not. And he's clearly, from the area his entire life. We find out he owns a few businesses,
and a plane.
Yes,
a hangar plane, which he would be driving that out of Romeoville, which is right by Bolingbrook. Like, I knew where everything was.
I mean, you're the expert. You're the expert on this for sure. So then, okay, quick PSA, parents, make sure at some point, if your kids are interested, they try lobster. Make sure you do that for them, because Stacy's like, I've never had lobster. And he gives her lobster. And it's like, you know what? If you don't let your kids try lobster, they're running the risk. They could jump into bed with the first corrupt man that offers it. I'm just saying, don't leave the finer things out for them, because the finer things aren't that hard to get, and somebody awful might offer it. So give them some lobster sometimes. You know what I mean? I felt strongly about that. So then he's like, well, technically I'm married. And she's like, I don't care,
Yeah, she was just like, now I'm going to make out with you.
Yeah.
Which for me, if I heard that, date over. But
Yeah. It's rough because, again, I'm picturing the actual Drew Peterson. So I'm not understanding a lot of this, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging her. I'm just like, I can't picture it,
I mean, yeah, obviously this is just a girl looking for not a romantic relationship. There's a lot going on here, which is probably why he preyed on her.
Yes.
I mean, it's disgusting, but
it's
that's
terrible.
True.
So then Kathleen's throwing stuff at him.
Oh, yeah. I was like, okay, he calls her a psycho this whole movie, but literally he walks in and he's just like, good morning. And she's like, throws her glass.
Yeah.
Like, you're cheating on me.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I was like, okay, Kathy.
Yeah.
Tone it down a little.
I mean, again, I get it, but he's dangerous. You can't be throwing stuff at him first thing in the morning. He is, you have no protection. The whole police force is behind him.
Yeah.
Come on.
He's like, Kathy, do you know how many Big Mac meals took me to get that McDonald's hamburger glass?
Exactly. So, it's again, I get her frustration, but she's playing with fire. And the kids see, she's hitting him. He's pushing her. The kids see it. It's not good. And it's not going to end well. So then he buys Stacy a car. And her sister's not having it. Her sister's gross. This is disgusting. What is happening? And then he ends up
And
taking...
she's just like, he wants to take care of me.
Right. And the sister's like, this is literally the worst person you could have ever picked. Like, why is this happening? So then he takes Stacy to his house that Kathleen lives in to have sex.
In their basement.
In the basement. I can't even. I can't even imagine. I don't even know. Like, how did he even get her in there? Like, what is...
It looked like through like like the old storm doors to the basement, like the tornado.
Yeah.
Kind of like things to get in, which I know the neighborhood that he lived in, and that house would never have had those. Like, they are brand new built.
Like McMansion like type houses? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So there's no way. So that was like the whole neighborhood that they had them in was not correct.
Okay. Nice try, Lifetime.
His house, was actually, I mean, I haven't personally been to his house. Let's just make
That's
sure
shocking.
you know that.
I don't know how you haven't been at this point.
Yeah, but I knew somebody and had been to their house in that neighborhood, and they're like brand new build. So
yeah, no twister storm doors is what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
And
well,
how was she just like, I'm in the mood with your wife upstairs? Like, this whole thing is just so sick and weird.
I don't even know how he pulled that off. Like, he has kids sleeping there. Like, my daughter would be like, what are you doing? Like, there's like no way. Like, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. So then Kathleen finds a letter that says Drew is having an affair. And, you know, again, he's terrifying because, I mean, again, this is Rob Lowe. We weren't at the house when she was fighting with Drew. I mean, maybe
I was.
Yeah, you probably were. But he's very measured during all of these arguments. Like, he's very measured. He's calm.
Yeah.
It's very scary. And it's like what we've talked about before, like, especially during the Tracy Thurman movie, like how Buck would be so calm. And it's like that unpredictability is like really scary, like scarier than him yelling or blowing up. So Drew keeps it together. And he's like, yeah, she threw all my stuff out. And Stacey's like, good, we can live together. It's like, yeah, I guess you guys could now. That's really romantic. So then she's like, I'm pregnant. And he's super happy.
Yeah. He like took a pause and you're kind of like, oh, he's going to be angry, but he seems elated. Yeah. But he says to her, you know, she's like, we can, you know, be together now, like start our family. But he was just like, he does say, Stacey, we're going to be together on my terms. And so he's already setting this tone of control. And it's just like, you're not going to run the show. Like, he obviously thinks women are objects. Just typical, I don't know, these characters are all the same. Yeah.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to tell you when you get the goods, you know, which is like, again, why do you want these goods? But sure. So, then there's a cadence of like Kathleen calling the police every other day. And like, he knows all of them. So they're like, yeah. Like, you're crazy, Kathleen, you know.
Can't
like,
arrest him, Kathleen.
Drew's a good guy.
He didn't do anything. I mean, she is the one throwing glasses. She's not making a good case.
I know. And that's the thing. Like, obviously, I'm sympathetic toward Kathleen, but I'm just like, he is so, like, he's dangerous and out of control and, like, cannot be punished. So I don't understand, like, what we're doing here.
Right. And she asked them, she's like, can you please arrest him? And they're like, Kathy, you know we're not going to do that.
Right.
And it's because he's on the force and they know him. So.
And he's probably, like, made them a ton of money, like, you know, illegitimately. So they're not going to, like, do anything about anything he does.
No.
So he's like moving in with Stacey. It's a really exciting day. And Kathleen comes and she's like, I'm not signing anything until we agree on splitting the property. And then he accuses her of blowing the attorney. So, you know, it's just like, you're not going to get anywhere negotiating with this guy.
Yeah.
And he is going to belittle you and degrade you no matter what you say.
Yeah.
So.
And I like when Stacey in the movie is like, you're just jealous of our love. And she's like, you can have him, little girl.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is she was a little girl. Like if she was 16, so sad.
It's so sad. Then she's like, one day you'll be me, you know?
Yeah.
And Stacey's like, I'm never going to be mean and bitter, you know? And it's like, I think we're beyond that. Like, I don't even think being mean and bitter at this point would be that bad compared to the situation that we're in. So then they get married, and and Stacey's sister is like, he is so disgusting. Like, he's so gross. You just want money. Like, why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm. And she's like, he chose me.
Yeah. She's like, and he's losing half of his money anyway.
Right. Like, obviously he wants to be with me because it's not for, basically she's just like, he's choosing me for love.
Yeah.
He's not choosing me for anything else.
No.
He wants me. And
no.
the sister's just like, he's still gross. Sorry.
And it's like, Stacey, if he's losing half of his money, you're not going to get that lobster, girl. You're not.
No.
That's done.
You better get used to fish sticks.
That's right. Like, I mean, seriously. So then, at the altar, Uncle Glenn is like, these women are so hot, Drew.
He was such a perv, man.
He was gross. He was gross. And the kid's like, well, Big Daddy's got it going on. And I'm like,
oh yeah, he makes him say that at the altar. Like, trauma trigger.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being that kid and being like, Big Daddy, Big Daddy? And it's just going through your head, like all the things you've seen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Terrifying. So then the drama with Drew and Kathleen continues on. Right. And in the TV interview, which is after everything happens to Kathleen, the interviewer's like, oh, you apparently held her down and threatened to kill her. But again, like any claim like that wouldn't have been taken seriously or mattered because he's so tied in with the police force. Mm-hmm. So then it's just like they start their new lives together. And Stacey's trying really hard to be the tween boys' mom, but like she's like 5 years younger than them. So it's not really gelling. Like, they're like, no.
Yeah, but I think very strongly, and I was happy to see this in the movie, she was a very loving mom.
Yes.
And she genuinely cared about her stepchildren. She loved her children. Like, that's to be noted.
Yes.
And that's commendable.
Really was. I mean, I would be like, I just want to be on the plane and eat lobster, and I don't want to deal with your kids. But she wasn't like that.
No, she really wanted to make it work and to be a family.
Yeah. So she was happy. She also inadvertently washed his clothes full of DNA after he killed Kathleen.
Well, she says to him, she's like, honey, last night, I know you put the clothes in the wash. Like, you don't need to do that. Like, I can do that for you. And he's just like, But I think why she asked that, well, at least I thought at that moment, until more information comes out, is she's starting to be like, is he cheating on me? Like, where was he? Why is he washing his clothes so quickly?
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, he is a hot piece. So is something going on? And again, he's super calm, like always, because he's a psychopath. And so
he doesn't really answer. He just kind of walks away.
Yeah. So then, Kathleen's not answering the phone. So then Drew's like, hey, neighbor, like, you're going to go in that house and see what's up. And the neighbor's like, okay.
Yeah, they show up to Kathy's house, like, to do the exchange of kids.
Yeah.
And she's not answering the doorbell. And the neighbor, like, this nice guy, he's just like, I can't go in there.
Yep.
He's like, why not? He's like, because, she gets all angry, which is true. But he's also a policeman.
Yep.
So he would be more equipped to do situations like this.
Right.
But obviously he knows he's murdered her and can't find her because that's going to look weird. Although all of it looks weird.
It looks weird. She's she's naked in the jet tub and it's dry.
Well, I think that because like I watch a lot of serial killer, like 48 Hours.
Yeah.
And a lot of times these men will leave them in positions like that. It's like humiliation.
Mm-hmm. I
almost wonder if that was part of it.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. And
yeah, because it's just disgusting. It's like a final blow.
Right. And this wasn't in the movie, but like I know they ruled it originally as an accidental drowning, but I did read she had a big gash on her head.
She had tons of bruises.
Yeah.
That's what my husband immediately was like, yeah, until they exhumed her body and she was covered in lacerations and bruises. There was obviously a struggle.
Yeah.
Or he whopped her on the head or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they were like, yeah, she drowned. There's no water.
Right.
He's close. Like, how is that person not in jail for the report?
Well, even that journalist, when he first asked the cop, and the cop is basically like, buzz off. It's like, okay, I guess we're just moving on.
I mean, this is somebody's life.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's disgusting.
Yeah. So then Stacy gives a statement at the police station, and it totally sounds like she's lying because she is.
She is.
And she's pregnant again. Yay! And she's really excited, way too excited to hear that the drowning was an accident. Like, she's just thrilled.
Yes. Well, she's obviously it's the relief of like, my husband's not a murderer.
Right.
Everything's fine.
Right.
But that's just false hope because she later figures out it definitely was a murder.
Yeah. So then she's like, let's go say hi to the new neighbors. And he's like, what for? You know?
Yeah.
And then he tells his kids, like, you know, you used to be able to keep a woman pregnant in the house. And now you can't anymore.
Well, he's just like, I don't want you kids moping. Your mom wouldn't want you to be moping. It's like, is she even buried? Like, moping? It's called grief.
Yeah. It's not a good situation for those kids.
Yeah. But Stacy goes to meet the new neighbor who ends up becoming one of her probably best friends, or at least a close, like a mother-daughter almost dynamic.
Yeah.
And she's walking through the neighborhood, telling her like where everything is, you know, which I was like, there's nothing walking distance around there, but okay, fine. And she's just like, yeah, that's Drew's ex-wife's house. Me and Drew used to have sex in the basement when she was home. And the neighbor's just like, Stacy, that's not okay.
Right. The neighbor's like the first adult ever to be like, what?
Yeah, like that's not a good, respectful thing to do. And it's demeaning to both of you.
That's right.
And she's just like, oh, ding dong. It's her in the face like, oh, yeah, that is bad.
Well, again, I mean, it's like she didn't have parents to be like, you shouldn't have sex in a married man's basement. Like, you know, it's sad, but she didn't.
It is really sad.
So then, so then we see Drew, like they pick up like a meth head and he's like, yeah, pregnant women are big, fat, sweaty monsters. To this meth head.
Yeah, they pick some dude up and he's like talking to basically him and his police officer next to him. He's just like, yeah, man, these pregnant women, they just get fat, sweaty.
And the meth head's like, that's not nice. And he's a meth head. Yeah. Like, even he knows that's not okay. So then they just let him go because Stacy's in labor.
Oh, yeah. Stacy goes into labor. She's like, get out.
Yeah.
Get you next time, you.
And like, I will say, shout out. They did cast some good babies. They did cast some good newborns. in this movie.
Yeah, they were very newborny.
Yeah, that was good. That was impressive. I mean, I guess if they're paying Rob Lowe, they can pay real newborns. You know what I mean? Like, I would assume. So, yeah, she has a baby girl, and then he's like, take this cell phone and don't lose it and answer it on the third ring.
Yeah, why the third ring?
Yeah.
I guess it's just a control thing. Like,
yeah, I guess it is a control thing. And again, like, you know.
It's so specific, like, on the third ring, you need to answer.
Right.
And so she's just kind of like, are you joking me? And he's like, no.
Right.
So
yeah, she's getting like really close to the neighbor. So again, I mean, the neighbor's like, what is happening? Like, why, you know, are you like rushing to him? Why are you freaking out if you don't have your phone? Like, this is all very strange. And so then at Drew's son's graduation, Stacy's like, oh, I need to nurse. And he's like, shut up, you're gross. Like, why are you talking about that here?
You just want people to see your boobies.
Yeah. And she's like, what? Like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? You know?
I need to feed my baby.
So then, again, I mean, they're having a rip-roaring party for this 8th grade graduation. There's like boozing going on. Like,
yeah,
they're like getting down and they're grilling. And he basically is like going through her phone and checking her email. And she's like, stop it. And he pushes her really hard into the TV set just as the neighbor is walking in. And that's like the first moment we see him be physical with her. And then he's like, how's the hot dog situation to the neighbor? Just like, wow.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Like, that was really good impression.
Thank you.
Actually.
That scene meant a lot to me. So, and what, you know what shocked me besides what he did is that Stacy like tells the neighbor that he pushed her into the TV, which I think is very like, I think that's rare because usually it's like, nothing happened. I'm okay. You know, like everything's fine. Yeah. But she like looks the neighbor in the eye and is like, yeah, he just pushed me into the TV screen. And I thought that was like really, interesting. Like she's actually admitting the abuse like pretty early on.
I think that Stacy had like a lot of emotional things that she obviously needed help with before she would make a decision to be with Drew. But I don't think as I watch her in this film, Stacy was stupid or naive, like past certain points. Like never stupid, but like naive and things like that. Like she actually she just needed to grow up a little bit.
Right. Well, yeah, she's a kid.
She's a kid. Exactly. So I think that she knew it was wrong. She's just kind of like, yeah, look what he did.
Right. And the neighbor's like, I knew he was no good type of thing.
Right.
But again,
like, at that situation as a neighbor, like, what do? Do you report it? Do you just go, it was a bad moment? Like, where's that line? Like, because I think to myself, gosh, I hope I would go and report it. But then there's also like that feeling of like, dude, what do you do?
Well, I think that like everything is canceled out because he's a corrupt cop. Like,
yeah,
what can you do? I mean, like, they're all going to back him. And I'm sure, I mean, I don't know this, but I would imagine if you try to report it somewhere else, they're like, that's not our jurisdiction or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess she was just like, I'm going to try to be here for Stacy. And we're going to do.
Which is kind of like what I think I would end up doing unless I saw him like choking her. Then I would call 911.
Right.
But it's like, what do you do?
Right. So then Stacy's like, I really want to work. Oh, and shout out for this scene because I don't know if you noticed, but they have like clothes hanging on the exercise bike in the bedroom, like to dry.
Oh.
And I just thought that was a really nice touch, like very realistic.
Yes. That, like, I was watching Roseanne last night. And again, like the set design for that show was impeccable.
Yes.
And I love when they add things because nobody's house looks like a magazine.
No.
Like those little touches are just great. Love it.
Yeah. I'm like, I've hung quite a few things on exercise equipment to dry. So thank you for seeing me, you know? So he's like, you're not working, you know, which is like, I mean, no surprise.
Oh yeah, she wants to get a job.
Yeah.
Working with her neighbor. Like her neighbor has like her doing like booking or something like that, like accounting.
Right.
Something that she's like, why? It's part-time. I can be home with the kids. Like, I just need to go next door and get away sometimes.
Right.
Which, as a mom, especially with young baby, everybody feels that way. Like, you need a break.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's just like, now, you're not working. Then what am I doing? I'm providing the hot dogs, Stacey. I do the jobs. Like, you should be at home.
That's right.
You want to have an affair. Like, everything is about her trying to nail somebody else.
That's right. So basically then he calls, you know, and they're at the grocery store and Stacey's like freaking out.
Because she doesn't have her phone.
Right. And then Karen's like, give her space, you know? And
oh, yeah. She answers. He calls Karen.
Yes.
He calls Karen at the grocery store. And he's like, where's Stacey? And she's like, she's right here. Like, he's like, well, she should be answering her phone.
Right.
And he's just like, leave her alone. She's doing everything right. Like, leave her alone.
Right. And it's like, you know, I'm sure that is going to work, telling him that. So then he's like spying on her with his partner. Like, she's mowing the lawn in like a bikini top and like her pelvic bones are hanging out.
Like, again, who would do that? Like, nobody mows their lawn in their bikini.
I haven't seen it.
The grass would be stuck to your stomach. Like, I sweat. Does she not sweat? Like, that would just be mosquitoes. Like,
yeah. The bikini top, like, I mean, again, I was like, that doesn't happen. But the bikini top, I was like, okay. But the pelvic bones hanging out, I was like, come on. Like, we cannot.
Yeah.
Have all of this going on.
I know. And then he's just like, to his, you know, partner, he's just like, look at her.
Yeah.
Look at that, you know, and the guy's just like, okay. And he's like, yeah, your wife's a cow.
Yeah, he's
that
like,
girl, you probably want her.
He's like, your wife's ugly, basically. And then then this was amazing because it was like, I don't know, 100 catchphrases in like 15 seconds. Like, he's like, keep your pole away from my wife. And then he's like, you're yanking my chain. And then he's like, she's a flower in bloom. I was like, whoa, somebody just was like, let's chock this full of catchphrases.
Midwestern gross saying.
Yeah.
They just pulled out.
They shoved it in there.
They should have Drew Peterson like Hallmark cards.
Oh.
Hey, you're yanking my chain. Congrats on the baby.
You know, you could really make that happen. Like, you are an artist. I think you should really consider that. I'm not joking.
So gross.
I'm not joking.
Lifetime or made for TV movie Hallmark cards.
Yeah. Oh,
trademark,
man.
Trademark.
We're going to get on it. I love it. So then Kathleen's sister shows up and she's like, give me my nephews so I can take it for ice cream, you know? And Stacey's like, no, Drew's going to be so mad. And, you know, this aunt obviously like knows that Drew killed Kathleen and has been through who even knows what and wants to see these kids and like can't. So that is another huge flag for Stacey.
Yeah, it's just sad because she wants the kids to go with their aunt. Like, you can tell, like, she's like, no, like, I just have to call, he just has to call me back. I just have to ask permission for you to spend time with your nephews. Like, that's how controlling Drew has become. And she's obviously kind of scared of him.
Yeah. Yeah, she is.
If, you know, my husband's sister showed up and was like, I want to take her for ice cream, I wouldn't have to ask him for permission. Like, that's just kind of weird.
It's very odd. And so then, you know, the aunt is like, yeah, I mean, Drew killed Kathleen, duh, you know?
Yeah.
And Stacey's like, it's an accident.
It was an
And
accident.
then Stacy's sister passes away, and that was like the only mother
From
figure
cancer.
Stacy had. Yeah.
Yeah, she had two sisters. The one who's the most vocal was the one that was like Drew's gross.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, she is explained to be kind of a mother figure to Stacy when Stacy's mom left. And unfortunately, she has some sort of terminal disease and passes rather quickly. So obviously that's just a huge blow to Stacy. And her other sister says to Stacy, you know, she just said, like, don't waste one day being unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to do the things in life that matter and fulfill you. And I think that starts to get the wheels in Stacy's head, obviously, moving.
Yeah.
And Drew is just about as supportive as you'd expect Drew to be. I think at one point she hugs, you know, the widowed brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you want to bang him.
Yeah.
Like, at the funeral.
Yeah. He's like, you're sleeping with him. And she's like, you're disgusting. And it's like, yeah, he is disgusting. Like
he's
every day.
I want to know how many times you banged him.
Yeah.
That's what he said. You banged him.
That was really good.
And
yeah.
And could you imagine? I would lose my mind. Like,
yeah,
there would be tombstones flying at his head.
Yeah.
Like the anger that I would feel, I don't even know if I could control myself.
No. So then they're like in bed and he's like, how many times did you bang him? And
banged him.
And then he's like, oh, forget it. Like, I know you're a whore. And he like holds her down. It's like very violent. And then she's like, we're done. It's over. And
like, oh yeah, where you gotta go?
Right.
She's like, you're moving out.
Yeah. So
he's like, oh, you think I'm gonna move out? I don't think so. She's just like, she looks at him, and this is the moment where she's like, I'm gonna make life very difficult for you.
Right.
And you know what I'm talking about. And then he lets her go. And it was basically her being like, I know you killed Kathy.
Right. But again, even her saying that, like, I was like, oh my God, like, he has so much power and you have none. So
I think sometimes, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like especially mothers, there just comes this protection.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to fight and I will threaten. I will do whatever. Like, I can't be afraid of you in this moment because you just got to go.
Right.
Because I have to think she was thinking about her kids.
Yeah.
At that point too, not just her life. And I have not been in ever a situation like that, thankfully, but I have been in situations where that protective mode that comes out of you, it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a force.
I have fought nurses and doctors when my daughter was in the hospital, and some of the things I've said, I didn't believe I actually said it.
Yeah.
Until my husband was like, no, you did.
He's like, you definitely did last week when we were hanging out with Drew Peterson.
Like, I joke, but probably it's true. There's definitely a picture of me at Edwards Hospital in Naperville. It's like, do not help this woman.
Well, we're going to have to go find it for sure. So then he apologizes the next morning and she's like, no. And he's like, well, you're going to get over it because you leaving is not an option. And she's like, I'm going to go have lunch with another guy. Which I was like,
I know. Oh my gosh.
I mean, Drew has a loaded gun at all times on him. Like, come on.
He's watching her and she knows it. But again, I think this is just her being like, F you. Like,
right.
I'm going to go do what I want. I don't care. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right. She's like, I don't care if you kill this guy, you know? Like,
well, that poor guy.
Yeah.
He's like an ex boyfriend or friend from high school. I mean, like, maybe middle school.
Right.
At this, like, not an older, like, this is a young dude who's just like, I just wanted to come to Ruby Tuesday for the half, split a lunch deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's just like, is this who you're banging?
Right. Then he makes the guy eat. Like, he makes him eat the lunch still. So
the control is just so gross. And if you are like a 22-year-old guy and you have this like big older police dude like yelling at you at, again, literally the Ruby Tuesday at the promenade, like, I don't know, I'd probably eat my meal too.
Yeah, I probably would too. Terrifying.
Yeah.
So then he takes Stacy's keys, of course, and like says she's having an affair again. And then she's like, I'm getting a lawyer. And, she's like crying on the lawn. Clearly the neighbor Karen never goes anywhere. So she's like waiting for Stacy to come back.
That would be me. I'm definitely Karen. Like,
yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, like Karen
I'm always home.
Does not leave the house without Stacy. So she's like, I'm here for you, and Stacy's like, he'll kill me before he lets me go. And then she tells Karen, like, I'm already dead.
I know. That part gave me the shivers.
Yeah, that was really awful and hard. And
she did it so good too. Like, she was just
she did. And again, it's
I'm
like
already dead.
Terrible to be Karen because Karen is like powerless in this situation.
Yeah.
So
it's like, yeah, what do you do?
Right.
Go to the Bolingbrook police where he works and say, I need to report this. Like, what is truth? What is not? You just don't know.
No. So I really, I felt that scene was pretty powerful. So then she's like really terrified and she tries to tell the church.
Yes. She goes to like a confession almost, or to her pastor, priest.
Yeah. And then
he's just like, bring them in, like we can do some counseling, things like that. And she's just like, no, like he killed his wife, like his other wife. Like, I know he did. And again, question for me, if you have a confession like that, are you legally obligated to bring that to police, or is it different? Like, I don't know how that is.
I don't either. We should like do some research. Like, is it the confidentiality, thing that mental health workers have? I don't know.
Right. I don't know either, because he later, that's kind of like that confession is what I thought helped put Drew behind bars. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if the church official didn't tell anyone, like, he did the wrong thing. But I don't know. But that's what I think.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so weird.
So the last time we see Drew and Stacy together, he's like, go be with your sister. Like, I won't lose it. Here's a ring to wear. And the kids like hear them fighting, which they probably hear daily.
Oh, yes. So she like gets up and she's just like, ugh, another day here.
Right.
And he's just like, go.
Yeah.
Go be with your sister. And she's like, what? No fight? And he's like, no, I want to make this work. I want to be with you. And she's just like, and then they're fighting and the kids like hear it, like you said. And then all of a sudden, Stacy's gone.
Yeah. So then he says in an interview after the fact that like she had an affair, like a news interview. And then the sister goes to the house and of course Karen's home and she's like, I don't know where Stacy is. And then they see Drew pull into the driveway and he's like, she left me. And the sister believes it, but Karen, the neighbor, doesn't. They're like, there's, no way she would have left those kids.
Right. Well, I think they both are like, they're not like good for her for leaving, but she's not leaving those babies.
No.
There's no way.
No. So then a legit detective comes and he's like, yeah, I'm not part of Bolingbrook. Like, I don't know what you guys do here, but like, I do not work this way. Which is good because they need somebody that actually, legitimately does the job. And then basically this journalist is like, Drew Peterson is a known madman. Like, he is like well known in these parts for being like dangerous and like, you know, mistreating women. So then Drew's like, you know, taking care of the kids. I think he calls himself Mr. Mom, which like always drives me insane when any dad does that. But I mean, I guess it's one of the least offensive things he said.
But yeah. I'm Mr. Mom. Oh, how about Dad?
Yeah. So then I think they talked to the neighbor that had found Kathleen, and the neighbor's like, Drew's great. Like, he's a great guy. And
trying to get like a story. Yeah. I mean, he probably did seem great to his neighbors. I mean,
like a lot of fun.
Parties and forced you to go find your dead wife.
Right.
Like, it's wonderful.
So then the FBI is like searching the house, and the kids go to Karen's house, and then Drew brings Karen into the bathroom, and he's like, it's been a long time since I banged a girl in a bathroom. Like, what?
Oh my gosh.
He's like backing Karen into the sink. I'm like, what is going on? Like,
I don't know. He just really likes banging. And he really likes to test limits. I don't know.
He does. He likes to see, you know, what these women are going to do.
And Karen ain't biting, let's just say.
No, she is not enchanted by this man.
No.
So then the kid tells Karen, like, nobody should ever talk to the police. And she's like, no, people should talk to the police. So obviously, the kids suspect that he did something to Stacy, and they probably, you know that he killed their mom.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's, again, that weird mutual bond between a child and a mom, and I just think that you just know things.
Yeah. So then he's dressed like he's going to like a MAGA rally, and like he like loses it.
A MAGA rally.
He's like laughing into the camera.
He's like, he's so scary.
He's so scary. And again, it's Rob Lowe, who is like beautiful by all accounts.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that was the first moment where it became like the sideshow, like the Drew show, like where all of that news coverage got so bananas because he was like so out of control. Mm-hmm. So Karen is like, Drew, like, what are you doing? You know? And he calls her a nasty bitch.
Yeah.
The woman who's like raising his kids now, basically.
It's like true colors.
Yeah.
A nasty bitch.
She's like, you're never seeing the kids again. So it's like, okay. And then he like leaves on his motorcycle, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, disturbing. And then he goes to see the brother in the hospital, right? Who overdosed.
Yeah. So the one that was his best man, that was like a total perv. And
right.
I'm like, Drew, how do you get these sweet, hot ladies? He's overdosed. And Drew's basically like, you couldn't even kill yourself right.
Right.
Can you do anything right? Like, he says that to him.
Yeah.
Like, his tact is unmatched. Like, I can't even believe it.
Well, it's like, he doesn't just hate women. It's like, I guess he hates men too. Like, I guess he
just thinks everybody is stupid. And obviously he thinks his brother is really stupid.
Right.
Because later on you come to find out that he had the brother move a mysterious, heavy, warm to the touch, blue, like rain barrel.
Yep.
The morning Stacy was missing, and he also can't seem to remember where it went. Like, yeah, his control over his brother is terrible. And it's probably because his brother is like a big junkie.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. It's just weird.
So then it's like Drew's getting more press for his outrageous behavior than Stacy's sister is getting for the search effort.
Yeah.
You know, there's some, it's not a montage, but there's just some quick scenes like he's assaulting a reporter. He gets suspended from work. They do another autopsy on Kathleen. And basically, then it goes into like this real Matt Lauer and Meredith Vieira footage, which was really good to use.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, yeah, just kidding. Kathleen was murdered. Like, it wasn't an accidental drowning. Like, she actually was murdered.
Accidentally drowned in the water?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. So then he's on like a shock jock trashy radio program.
Oh, this made me so angry. I had to look it up if it was real. And it is. His name is Steve Dahl on WBJMK. And he wants to have a date with Drew. Like, what a mockery.
Horrible
situation.
And so realistic. I mean, in the movie.
Yeah.
And then Drew's like, Stacey would ask for a divorce every month around her menstrual cycle. It's just like,
he's obsessed with periods.
He's obsessed with periods. Like, I wonder if he's upset that like he's not a woman that like gets a period.
He's the American Girl My Body book, because I think he would really do well with that.
We should mail it to him for sure.
He should.
I mean, like,
this is banging.
Yeah. So then they're like, let's find you a date. And he's like, oh, they're going to get some if they're hot, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Like, we know, Drew. We know. We know. So then he's like not participating in the search at all.
Of course.
And then it's guys' night at a bar, and
I'm positive I know what bar that is. Yeah. Like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say, but there's a bar in Bolingbrook called Tailgaters, and that definitely, even my husband was like, oh, that's Tailgaters. I was like, yeah.
Wow. I mean, you guys have really come close to like some real encounters.
I'm pretty sure I was at events where he was there. Like, definitely.
You breathe the same air as Drew Peterson.
I definitely did.
So then he picks up like an insecure girl, Christina Rains. So basically he picks her up in a bar and he's like, I think I found wife number 5. And she's like 23 and they get engaged.
Like immediately.
Right. So Karen's like, I have had it. So she puts up a massive sign on her lawn asking where Stacey is. Yes. And she sees Christina and she's like, I hope I don't have to put up a sign for you someday. And it's like, well, Karen, if you never move and Drew doesn't get caught, you are going to have to get another sign made for Christina. So get ready. Get the Zazzle account ready, you know? So
oh my.
Then the pastor tells Karen that he thinks Drew killed Kathleen.
Right.
And then, you know, it's like everybody basically knows. Like, everybody knows that he killed Kathleen and everybody thinks he killed Stacey.
Yes. I mean, even at some point when he's getting like suspended from the police, his coworkers are like, yeah, Drew, you can't really be here.
Yeah.
Because you murdered somebody.
Right. They're like, we don't want to make a big deal about it. Like, so then the press attention and the fact that like he did, you know, kill these women gets to be too much. And Christina leaves and Karen's, you know, again, like watching out the window 24 hours a day. So she's like making sure that Christina doesn't get killed.
Which is really nice.
Really thoughtful. And then later that night, that's when Karen's garage keeps opening and closing.
That scene I had to rewatch a few times.
Yeah.
It is, my husband was like, we need to rewatch that. And I was like, yeah. So Karen's in her house and she just hears noise. She's like, oh, what is that? She goes out to her attached garage and all of a sudden it opens. And in the dark is the silhouette of Drew Peterson.
Yeah.
And he's got like a garage door opener and it's just like,
yeah.
It keeps back down. And it's like, and he's like, I'm untouchable.
Yeah, he's like, I'm untouchable, bitch. It's like, whoa.
Who wrote that? did that happen in real life?
That's amazing. That's like an amazing
had to have
scene.
happened.
Well, and so again, I mean, it's like Karen's like, I could have done more. And it's like, Karen, you couldn't. You've basically already quit your job to like keep tabs on Drew. Like, you can't do more. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's going to like torture you, you know, and he really is untouchable at this point.
At this point, yeah.
So then his brother Glenn has a flashback and thinks about everything and like realizes, you know, that, yeah, like Drew actually did kill Kathleen. And like you mentioned, you know, he did help Drew move a barrel with, you know,
a heavy rain barrel that was sealed and warmed to the touch.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be like, yo, bro, what you got in here?
Yeah, I'd be like, this is heavy. Right.
Just about 50,000 Vienna beef hot dogs. Right. Go bury them.
Right.
Gotta go.
I mean, it's like, come on, you know. So, but that's interesting too, because it's like you wonder, I mean, if the brother essentially has a drug problem, like you wonder how dependent he was on Drew.
Right.
And what Drew, you know, did for him and all of that. So then there's a montage just about how awful Drew is, which basically is the whole movie. And the kids are like raising themselves. Like, it's like the 10-year-old boy is like taking care of the baby. So then Drew's buddy and the journalist are there when he gets arrested for Kathleen's murder. And he's like still joking about it. Like he like is still like making jokes. And then he is like getting checked out by the state police. And then he makes a joke about like how the police officer's father and mother had to be brother and sister.
Yeah, you might supposed to remember. And then he's just like, you want to see my body? Is that why? They're like, no, it's called, like, you have to strip down.
They're like, please, sir. Right.
Yeah. He's like, take a look at Big Daddy's package.
Yeah. He's like doing a striptease. Yeah, amazing. I mean, just such an amazing performance. Like,
it was.
Nailed it. So,
yeah.
Stacy's body was never found.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
So sad.
And so Drew has 6 kids.
Wow.
And as of June of this year, he said he wants to get married again. So
he has a wifey?
I don't think he's currently, let me see. I don't think he's currently married, but he wants to be married again. So
I just don't understand.
Yeah. So Stacy's been missing since 2007. So
I just think if you killed your wife, part of your sentence is you're no longer to be married.
Yeah, like that should be like a stipulation and a rule. But I mean, again, he's only in prison for Kathleen's murder. So that was 2004.
How did he not get time for Stacy?
I mean, I guess because they don't know if she's dead, right?
Like lack of evidence.
Yeah, like they don't have a body. So he is in prison for 78 years with an earliest possible release in 2081. Sorry, Liz.
Only 98. Come on.
And then, you know, something that was kind of interesting about his case is the Illinois state legislator attempted to help the prosecution with a new Illinois law. So it's called Drew's Law. And it kind of lets prosecutors enter statements that were hearsay into evidence under certain conditions. So they passed this because when they were looking for Stacy, it permits the court to consider statements from unavailable witnesses if the prosecutors can prove that the witness was killed to prevent his or her testimony and that the hearsay statements are available. So that's something that didn't exist before.
They shouldn't call it Drew's law, though. Like, he shouldn't get credit for any of that.
No,
like, it should be Stacy's law or something.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's actually law
gross.
725 ILCS 5/115-10.6, which I guess people can't really get to roll off the tongue.
But still,
but it should be
Stacy's law.
I agree. So he's serving time in Indiana. He was transferred from Illinois.
Springfield, right? Like Springfield, Illinois.
Currently, yes.
Why was he transferred?
I mean, maybe
higher security?
Maybe one of the guards fell in love with him and they were like, we got to get him out of here. So he's...
Take a look at Big Daddy.
Yeah. No one can resist. And then there was, in 2022... his former defense attorney, Joel Brodsky, is considering the release of confidential information protected by attorney-client privilege. So that's kind of what you were touching on earlier. Like, what do you have to report or come forward with?
Right.
So Cassandra, Stacy's sister, was really irritated because Brodsky could have faced legal penalties for revealing information that was confidential, but she felt that they needed that information to solve Stacy's cold case.
Right.
So
I find, that is just so odd to me. It's like, I understand confidentiality, but when it comes to somebody's life, I just feel like all bets are off. Like,
yeah. Well, and then I guess
it's going to put somebody away.
Right. Well, and they can't find her. Like, they don't know what happened to her. So they do need that info. So like, this attorney lost his legal license for reasons unrelated to this case, which I can't even imagine. And he's under a gag order, so he can't disclose anything that Drew Peterson shared with him. So it's unclear if he actually has info regarding Stacy, but he has said, quote, "I know everything about both of his wives, everything. I feel bad about Drew still not taking responsibility and Stacy still being missing. I'm thinking about maybe revealing what happened to Stacy and where she is." It's like, yeah, hello. Like, do that.
If I was that person, I would not reveal that publicly.
Right.
I would reach out privately to her family.
Yes.
Because that just then again seems like, here, I'll write a tell-all book, like.
Right.
This is somebody's life.
Yeah. So basically, yes, it's still pending whether or not this attorney will end up revealing what he knows. And I agree with you. I think making that public statement is not smart and also kind of in poor taste.
Yes, agreed.
Unless he's doing it or saying it publicly to get some kind of protection. I don't really know the ins and outs of that.
I don't know.
But the search is still going on for Stacy Peterson. There is a Facebook page and there's a GoFundMe as well. So hopefully at some point somebody will be able to find her or figure out what actually happened to her, because that is tragic. There's also been several interviews, with Drew's kids, just in terms of what they think and how it was growing up with him and what they suspect. And I mean, my heart really goes out to them because I can't imagine not having a mom and then not having the stepmom that took care of you. And then having a dad that like literally says he's going to bang everyone on earth in public. That has to be kind of rough. So hopefully they find some peace.
Yes.
And hopefully this case does not remain cold because she was a young mother and it's really tragic. And it's even more tragic to see how somebody like Drew Peterson was able to get away and also treat women like this. Even his prior marriages to Kathleen, it was, like decades of physical abuse. So,
Stacy deserves better. Her family deserves better. Kathleen's family deserves better. Kathleen deserves better. Like, it's just a sick, sad situation. And I'm glad that at least he'll be serving time for the rest of his life.
Yes.
but he should still be held responsible for anything else that he did. And
Agreed.
That's just
And,
part of it.
again, this movie was excellent. So I highly recommend. And I think that the performances were stellar.
Yeah. This is like not hokey in any way. This is just flat out amazing. And if you don't believe the things that they portrayed in this film, you can go back and watch it in real life on the news. He really was this character.
Yes.
He was just so freaking weird.
So weird, so gross, so sexist, so unapologetic.
Mm-hmm.
And, to this day, his interviews are still like that. So
yes, he's unchanged.
Yeah.
Nothing seems to have changed him. He's just the same weirdo.
Yes. So we might have to go do like a, tour of all of the places that are real in this film.
Okay, so the reason why I know it's real is because I was working a community-based job in the Bolingbrook, Romeoville area at the time. And so I was helping like an after-school program basically for at-risk youth. And so I would go to all the businesses in the area for like events and things like that. Like I had to be kind of in the community because I was serving the community. And so I had no idea even when this was going on. I just remember going into like, I don't know, Wendy's or something. And I saw the picture of like, have you seen this woman? And I even remember it didn't click with me then what was going on because I wasn't paying attention to the news. I just wasn't.
Right.
I was just like, can I get fries for these kids?
Right.
But I just remember being like, oh, that's so sad. You don't really see like missing person things that often.
Right.
Especially in that area. And it was just weird because a lot of these events, the Bolingbrook police force was very present at, and a lot of like fundraisers I attended, they were present at. And it's just weird to me to think like I probably was at events where he was there prior to his arrest.
Yeah. You were very plugged in.
I'm knowing I was plugged in.
I'm grateful, number one, that the area, did not flip you. You are not corrupted. And I'm grateful, number two, that you just like never, dated him.
I did see a policeman one time that looked like I was like, maybe. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to anything. I was so badly in need of money for my program that I was just like, anybody, do you have anything?
That's right. And
Please.
Thank goodness that was what your focus was. You know what I mean?
That was my only focus. I didn't even know this was going on until like years later, which is sad. I should have paid attention, but I had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, you came close. So
I came real close to the real thing, but it was kind of fun watching the movie and being like, oh, that probably was the Promenade, Bolingbrook.
Yeah.
Oh, that was probably Tailgaters. Oh, it's just kind of weird.
It's very
weird. To think
weird.
all of this was happening while you're like there,
Absolutely. Well, I'm very intrigued. But we, definitely recommend this movie. And as always, we will link our contact info and how to get a hold of us and how to email us to share your feedback and also to share your movie suggestions because we are super interested in what you all are watching and what we should be talking about. So,
yes. And I think this is the close to our first season.
Yes.
So I look forward to next season. I think we have some really great ideas going into the next season. So we hope that you guys, any of you, stay tuned. I know I'll be listening.
I'll be listening as well.
And I think we're going to have some real bangers for second season.
Yeah, there's no shortage. I find myself rewatching movies we haven't even planned on reviewing yet and reviewing them in my head. So we're not going anywhere.
What season will we review 15 and Pregnant? That one just...
I know.
I hope it's season 2 and then I don't because I'm so scared to touch it. It's just so good.
It is. It is untouchable, but not Drew Peterson.
That's true.
Yeah, it is untouchable, We need to really be in a good place. Like, we need to really, really bring it.
To unpack that Kirsten Dunst beauty.
Yeah. I look forward to it. And we value you. Thank you for listening.
Guys.
Until next time.
Until next time.